This is Heritage Baptist College, and we're in a course about the minor prophets.
Yes.
And this evening we're going to start with the book of Habakkuk. And we're going to read all 3 chapters of the book of Habakkuk, and then I will get into the text.
Okay.
Text beginning at page 94. But first you'll need your Bible for a little while.
Okay.
The reason we're doing that is the way he wrote his commentary in this particular part. It just works better this way. If we read the whole text first, and then we refer back to it as we go through
Habakkuk.
the text. Yeah, this is Habakkuk.
Works really well.
Habakkuk. Yeah. When we were kids, we didn't know how to say this, and we called it Habakkuk. We had no idea.
That's very common.
Yeah. So, beginning in Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse number 1. Says, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. Behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses also are swifter than the leopards, and are more fierce than the evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from afar. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God. Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, mine Holy One? We shall not die. O Lord, thou hast ordained them for judgment, and Almighty God, thou hast established them for correction. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devoureth the man that is more righteous than
Brother,
he?
where are you? I lost you there on the verses.
Verse 13,
13.
Thank you.
starting 14. And makest men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them. They take up all of them with the angle. They catch them in their net, and gather them in their drag. Therefore they rejoice and are glad. Therefore they sacrifice unto their net, and burn incense unto their drag, because by them their portion is fat, and their meat plenteous. Shall they therefore empty their net, and not spare continually to slay the nations? That was chapter 1. Now we're going to proceed on to chapter 2. Beginning at verse 1, he says, I will stand upon my watch, and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answereth me, and said, Write the vision, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a daunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. Behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land of the city, and all that dwell therein. What profiteth the graven image, that the maker thereof hath graven it? The molten image and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein to make dumb idols. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, Awake, to the dumb stone, Arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of chapter 2. And now we're going to move on and read chapter 3. Chapter 3, Habakkuk, beginning at verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make known. In wrath remember mercy. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, and the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? Thy bow was made quite naked, according to the oaths of the tribes, even thy word, Selah. Thou didst cleave the earth with rivers. The mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of thine arrows they went, and at the shining of thy glittering spear. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation unto the neck. Selah. Thou didst strike through with his staves the head of his villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly. Thou didst walk through the sea with thine horses, through the heap of the great waters, through the heap of great waters. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet will I rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me walk upon mine high places, to the chief singer on my stringed instruments. All right. And we're going to then set our Bible aside and move to our text on page number 94 about Habakkuk. He says, except for legends, one that is found in the Apocrypha book of Bel and the Dragon. Now, I don't know if you all understand what the Apocrypha is. Some of you may have never seen it, but it's a set of books. It does not meet the standards of canon of Scripture, but it's included in some Bibles. There is a King James version of the Apocryphal books, although they are not included in the King James Bible. They were translated because there were many Catholics in England that if they didn't have those books in there, they wouldn't be using his Bible. So King James translated those just to appease that group of people. But it says, this legend is found in the Apocrypha book of Bel and the Dragon, tells of Habakkuk going to the field with a bowl of pottage when he was carried away by an angel to feed Daniel in the lion's den. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Practically nothing is known of this prophet. The book bearing his name says nothing about the author, and the rest of Old Testament history gives no clue of his origin. From internal evidence, scholars have dated his book to be written in the last years of Josiah's reign, or during the reign of his wicked son, King Jehoiakim. The book appears to be the work of a prophet living in Jerusalem. Habakkuk means embrace. Luther draws from his name that he embraces his people and takes them into his arms. In other words, he comforts them and holds them up as one embraces a weeping child to quiet it with the assurance that if God wills, it shall soon be better. The book of Habakkuk, as you begin to read, is quite different from other prophetic books. Although it is stated to be a burden similar to burdens in the other books, what makes it different from the rest is it is not addressed to the people, but to God. It is a record of the prophet's many questions to God regarding the sufferings of the godly and the prosperity of the wicked, of judgment and of his own enlightenment. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Habakkuk 2 verse 4 says, so Habakkuk is called the prophet of faith. The striking statement of the prophet of faith is quoted 3 times in the New Testament, in Romans 1:17, Galatians 3:11, and in Hebrews 10 verse 38. The just shall live by faith, top of page 95, the just shall live by faith in the context of Habakkuk's vision is the answer to his perplexity in chapter 1, verses 12 through 17. The Babylonians, because of their newfound power over all other peoples, were puffed up in their own conceit, like the Germans and the Japanese at the beginning of World War II. The way of might is right, though flourishing for a season is the way to final destruction. This happened to the Assyrians, who were subdued by the Babylonians, and after 70 years, history repeated itself when the Babylonians were conquered. When the Babylonians were conquered by the Medo-Persians, and so forth. On the other hand, the just and the righteous, who humbly trust in the Almighty, shall live by faith. Faith truly means Forsaking all, I take him. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It says, the just shall live by faith. It becomes the watchword of the 16th century Reformation, and it rings true to this day. It is the battle line between true Protestants and the Church of Rome, whose salvation dogma includes works, works, works. The Romanists anathematize those who go by faith alone. The ECT, that is Evangelicals and Catholics Together document of 1994, is therefore a complete repudiation of God, speaking through his prophet Habakkuk. The just shall live by his faith. This verse, Habakkuk 2, verse 4, is nevertheless key to the whole book and is the central theme on salvation in all the scriptures. According to Hastings' Dictionary of the Bible, the book of Habakkuk may be divided into 6 sections, the first 4 containing 2 dialogues between Jehovah and the prophet, whilst the last 2 contain confident declarations springing from and expanding the divine reply. In chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, Habakkuk, compelled to live in the midst of violent wrongdoing, contemns of religion manifesting itself in the oppression of the righteous by the wicked, complains strongly of the silence and indifference of God. In chapter 1, verses 5 through 11, he receives an answer that a new and startling display of the divine justice is about to be made. The Chaldeans, swift, bitter, and terrible, are to sweep down and overwhelm the whole world. No fortress can resist their onslaught. The incredibility of this must lie not in the fact that the Chaldeans are the aggressors, but rather that Jerusalem, spared so long, is now to share the fate of so many other cities. Chapter 1, verses 12 through 17, he says, some time may now be supposed to elapse through the next, before the next prophecy is spoken. During this period, the prophet watches the progress of the Chaldeans, who have now, in chapter 2:17, penetrated into Palestine. His observation raises a new and insoluble problem. This reckless, insolent, cruel, and insatiable conqueror is worse than those he has been appointed to chastise. How can a holy God, so ready to punish the wicked in Israel, permit one who deserves far more the name of wicked to rage unchecked? Are wrong and violence to possess the earth forever? And he goes to chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. He says, the prophet, retiring in his watchtower, whence he looks out over the world to see it in ruins, receives an oracle, which he is bidden to write down on tablets for all to read. He is told that the purpose of God is hastening to its fulfillment and is encouraged to wait for it. Then follows the famous sentence, behold, his soul is puffed up, it is not upright in him, but the just shall live in his faithfulness. The meaning of this is plain. Tyranny is self-destructive and carries within itself the seeds of doom. But while the evildoer passes away, the just man, steadfast in the face of all contradiction, shall live and last out the storm of judgment. Chapter 2, verses 5 through 20. Content with this message, the prophet utters triumphantly a 5-fold series of woes against the pride, the greed, the cruel building enterprises, the sensuality, the idolatry of the heathen power. And we get to chapter 3. It says, finally, a magnificent lyric, a triumphal song, which as its heading and close prove, has been adapted for use in the temple worship. The prophet sings the glorious redeeming acts of God in the past history of the people, and in the certainty of his immediate appearance, bringing hopeless ruin on the enemy, declares his unwavering trust. So read, this short book is seen to be a human document of unique value. It marks the beginnings of Hebrew reflective thought as the workings of providence in history, afterwards so powerfully expressed in Job and in the later prophets. Then we're going to move on to the book of Zephaniah. Book of Zephaniah. And I have to check my outline here. We have 3 chapters. And let me see. What we're going to do is we're going to read the summation here and see how far we get with it. And we may get started into chapter 1, but I'm going to just read the introduction to you like we've been doing previously. We'll read the introduction to you, and we won't read the text until we get there. Otherwise, you'll forget where we are. I'll forget where we are. So page 98 in our text says, Zephaniah means the Lord hides. The prophet traces back his ancestry to 4 generations, to King Hezekiah, so he has royal blood in his views. More significant, he has the spirit of his great-great-grandfather, who was the first reformer of Judah. Hezekiah purified the temple worship, which was greatly polluted by his father, wicked King Ahaz. Zephaniah ministered half a century after Nahum in the reign of good King Josiah, Judah's second reformer. He was therefore a contemporary of Jeremiah. The reformation of Josiah in 621 BC touched both Judah and Israel, though Israel was conquered and taken into exile by the Assyrians 100 years ago. That means previous to this. So despite Josiah's strenuous efforts to reform the nation by destroying idol worship, it failed when he died. No wonder little mention is made of him by the prophet. As to the Reformation under King Josiah, it is recorded in 2 Kings 22 and 23 as follows. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Adaiah of Boscath. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in all the way of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And it came to pass in the 18th year of King Josiah that the king sent Shaphan, the son of Azaliah, the son of Meshullam, the scribe, to the house of the Lord, saying, Go up to Hilkiah the high priest, that he may sum the silver which is brought into the house of the Lord, which the keepers of the door have gathered of the people. And let them deliver it into the hand of the doers of the work that have the oversight of the house of the Lord. And let them give it to the doers of the work which is in the house of the Lord, to repair the breaches of the house, unto carpenters and to builders and masons, and buy timber and hewn stone to repair the house. Howbeit there was no reckoning made with them of the money that was delivered into their hand, because they dealt faithfully. And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Doc was just preaching about this a couple of days ago, do you remember? Mm-hmm. And it says, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan the scribe came to the king and brought the king word again and said, Thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it to the hand of them that do the work, that have the oversight of the house of the Lord. And Shaphan the scribe shewed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Achbor the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asahiah, a servant of the king, saying, Go ye, inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book, to do according to all that which is written concerning us. So Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam, and Achbor, and Shaphan, and Asahiah went unto Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvah, the son of Harhas, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they communed with her. And she said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Tell the man that sent you to me, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Judah hath read, because they have forsaken me and have burned incense to other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and shall not be quenched. But to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shall ye say to him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord. Then when thou heardest what I spake against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept before me, I also have heard thee, saith the Lord. Behold, therefore I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace, and thine eyes shall not see all the evil which I will bring upon this place. And they brought the king word again. So you see, God's going to go ahead with his plan.
Right.
But because this king heard God, God said, well, I'm going to remove your life so you don't have to suffer. This is what he's doing. In chapter 23, and the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant which was found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and with all their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove and for all the host of heaven, and burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah and in the places round about Jerusalem, him also that burn incense to Baal, or Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord, without Jerusalem, unto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people. And he brake down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the grove. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Gibeah to Beersheba, and brake down the high places of the gates that were in the entering of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entering in of the house of the Lord, by the chamber of Nathan-melech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariots of the sun with fire. And the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down and break them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had builded for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians, and for Chemosh the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom the abomination of the children of Ammon did the king defile. And he brake in pieces the images, and cut down the groves, and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, and the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, both that altar and the high place he brake down, and burned the high place, and stamped it to small powder, and burned the grove. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were there in the mount, and set and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burned them upon the altar, and polluted it, according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. Then he said, What title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, It is the sepulchre of the man of God, which came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, Let him alone, let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, and the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria. And all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger, Josiah took away, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. And the king commanded all the people, saying, Keep the Passover unto the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of this covenant. Surely there was not holden such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor the kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein his passage was holden to the Lord in Jerusalem, moreover, pardon me?
Wherein this Passover.
Wherein this Passover, what did I say?
Passage.
Say
You said passage.
passage. Sorry, I said that wrong. I'll start over verse 23. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein this Passover was holden to the Lord in Jerusalem, moreover the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law, which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. And like unto him, there was no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. Neither after him arose there any like him. Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and will cast off this city, Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, My name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. The main theme of the prophet's message is the day of the Lord. And he speaks in chapter 1 of the judgment on Judah, in chapter 2, the judgment on nations, chapter 3, judgment on Jerusalem, and Israel's future restoration and global judgment. So, in Zephaniah chapter 1, we're going to begin right here, and we'll see how far we go. I was not quite sure how to separate these, so we're going to proceed with Zephaniah chapter 1, and then we'll come back and read the chapter 1 segment beginning on page 104. Okay, Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 1. This is the word of the Lord which came to Zephaniah the son of Cushi, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah. I will utterly consume things from off the land, saith the Lord. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And I will cut off man from off the land, saith the Lord. I will also stretch out mine hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Chemarims with the priests, and them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by the Lord, and that swear by Malcham, and them that are turned back from the Lord, and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquired for him. Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord God, for the day of the Lord is at hand. For the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice. He hath bid his guests. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. In the same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Howl ye, inhabitants of Maktish, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with their candles, and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. Therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. The great day of the Lord is near, it is near, and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man, shall cry there bitterly. That a day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, and that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord. And their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. And let's go to our text on page number 104, beginning chapter 1, Judgment in Judah. This chapter announces the day of the Lord is at hand. As in the other prophets, the imminent invasion of Nebuchadnezzar is announced as an adumbration of the final day of the Lord. Now, I don't know if you remember that word adumbration. We talked about it a little while back. This gentleman, you need to understand, is a Chinese person.
Oh, yeah.
And English was not his first language, but he's very fluent with it. And he learned some of these big words that I never heard of before. But adumbration, just think about that word that's in the middle there, dumb. It's the dumbing down of something. In other words, they've simplified something.
Wow.
Okay? But adumbration is a polite way of saying dumbing down.
It sounds very British.
It is.
Yeah.
You need to understand that the British owned Singapore for a lot of years, and this gentleman grew up there. That's where his home was.
It almost seems like he's trying to impress you with his vernacular.
No,
It's common to him.
absolutely not. This is a very humble gentleman.
It's common to him.
You would love this man if you knew him. It says, the day of the Lord will be a total global judgment. Okay, that's a pretty short statement for what's all going to happen there.
Yeah.
It says the immediate judgment will be upon Judah and Jerusalem. This judgment will first be directed to the idols and false gods with their priests that have overwhelmed Judah. We just read about all that. It says they are Baal, or some of you have learned that word as Baal, okay? God of the Canaanites, worshipped by the Israelites as early as the days of the judges. The feminine deity associated with Baal is Ashtoreth. Baal worship is full of immoral practices. Timurim, meaning black, is taken from the black garments they wore. Housetop worship of the host of heaven, the sun, the moon, and the stars. This worship is called Sahianism. Moses warned against it in Deuteronomy 4, verse 19. This housetop worship of the heavenlies spread to almost every home. Malcham is the same as Molech, Amos 5:26, and Milcom is god of Ammon. Finally, the backsliders, verse 6. Before the day of the Lord judgment must fall on Judah, the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice, and his guests are the Chaldeans. How ironical is the judgment carried out on the Jews by the Babylonians as his priests to slay the sacrifices. Those to be slain first in the coming judgment must be those of the royal family, who not only followed the heathen customs but also oppressed the poor, who leap on the threshold to rob the weak and the poor. What happened here? Remember, God took that King Josiah's life to spare him from having to go through this misery.
Oh, yeah.
It was an act of mercy. And punishment will come to those of Maktesh, a low place in Jerusalem, where the bazaars were, and to those settled on their lees who take life easy, who would not care less what God would do. The rest of the chapter is self-explanatory. And I'm going to move on into chapter 2. We'll read chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Zephaniah 2.
Okay.
Okay. Beginning at verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Before the decree bring forth, before the day passes the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you, seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness, it may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. Woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of the Lord is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitant. And the sea coast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds and folds for flocks, and the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon. In the houses of Ashkelon shall they lie down in the evening. For the Lord their God shall visit them and turn away their captivity. I have heard the reproach of Moab and the revilings of the children of Ammon, whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah, even the breeding of nettles and salt pits and a perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of the Lord of hosts. The Lord will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth, and the men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. Ye Ethiopians also, ye shall be slain by my sword, and he shall stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and dry like a wilderness, and flocks shall die down in the midst of her. Shall lie down in the midst of her. All the beasts of the nations, both the cormorant and the bittern, shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, that said in her heart, I am, and there is none beside me. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Every one that passeth by her shall hiss and wag his hand. Let's go to our text. We only have about 10 minutes here. Let's see if we can get on through.
Good job, Jerry. I don't know how you do it.
Huh?
Good job. I don't know how you read so good.
His tongue's hinged in the middle, it wags on both ends. It makes it easier.
I hope that you can hear all my words because
Yeah. I don't know how you don't stumble over so much more.
we're moving quickly.
It's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. So page 106 in our text, Zephaniah chapter 2, judgment on nations and Israel's future restoration and global judgment. The only way whereby a sinner can escape God's judgment is repent. Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth. Seek righteousness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Verse 3. But will the meek seek the Lord? Judgments on the nations. Verses 4 through 7 speak of the judgments on Philistia. Then he mentioned Moab and Ammon. Read of their origin. Because of the fall of the northern kingdom and the decline of the southern monarchy, the pride of these Transjordan tribes increased greatly. They tried to seize Israel's land during their time of calamity. These people added insult to injury by reviling God's people. Moab and Ammon will become like Sodom and Gomorrah. These lands will become desolate like the regions of the Dead Sea. Now you're talking about just flat, nasty desert. Sand and salt.
Wow.
That's it. Ethiopia and Assyria, Ethiopia, or Cush, and Egypt are closely linked. There is reason to believe Ethiopians include Egyptians because, of course, they're close proximity in the countries. Ethiopia is just below Egypt. Miss Patricia can tell you, she comes from Africa. She knows that continent fairly well. It says, from Ethiopia, the judgment proceeds to Assyria. The book of Nahum treats more fully the destruction of Assyria. Assyria has been that ancient power before the rise of Babylon to afflict Israel and Judah. And we're going to have to stop right there. But we'll take up at page 108 and all of the scriptures that are included from there. And let me pick a stopping place farther down the line here so you know how far you can read. I get my finger stuck to my sticky thing here instead of my page. And then I'll be turning my finger instead of my page.
Don't do that.
No,
It doesn't take.
actually, we're going to read up to the end of Zechariah, which is 1:15, and we're going to start chapter 1 in Zechariah. And this is, let me see how far we want to go here. Probably 4 visions.
You're talking about to prepare for next week.
Yes. Zechariah chapters 1 through 6. Okay. And I'm going to potentially put our ending point at right there
6.
at the end of chapter 1, page 117. That'll get you through chapter 1 in Zechariah. Okay. We may move a little farther than that if you want to read into chapter 2, and that will take you a little ways farther. lost my place here. Chapter 2 goes all the way up to chapter 8. If you want to read Zechariah up to chapter 8, just to be sure we're covered, so that you're covered. And we'll call that a day for today.
All good.
It's a lot of stuff to digest, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We have to go at this speed that actually, once we get a little farther along, you're going to find that we can slow down a little bit and really enjoy some of these things more. I mean, we've heard gloom and doom from the day we started on these minor prophets, haven't we?
Yep.
We've had one book that was fairly pleasant, and the rest of them have all been gloom and doom all the way through. So stick with me. We'll make it through the end by the end of the semester, and hopefully have a little bit of time for review. I think we will probably not do a quiz at the end. There's too much information in here that
Just as long as they've read all the books.
but you do need to have read all the books, all the minor prophets by the time we get done with our semester. And we've got 8 weeks left in our semester, and that's all.
Wow.
A lot of material.
I've got some 17,000 words to write by then.
Wow.
I'm probably not going to make it, Doc. But gonna try to get back into
He's on page 251.
into a place where my thought life and my reading and research kind of run together with that. I've gotten to where I can move a little bit slower in this. I've gotten ahead. I've worked ahead on a couple of my other classes, so I don't have to spend so much time on them in the future weeks, and I can spend more time in my writing. So we'll see how that progresses. But thank you for your time, your attention. Doc, if you would take us offline and let folks have a little break.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Thank you for being.
I've been stumbling all over myself. That's all I read.
He learned it.
Just have a gift of